Well, hello everyone, and thanks for joining me today at Juanette's Crafting Corner for my Quick Tip Thursday, and this is episode number 19. A few people I would love to thank for their comments. Steph told me she lives in Virginia. Leah, who is Rainbow Rising, she lives in Sweden. And Carol let me know she's on a fantastic trip. So thank you for your lovely comments as always. So what I thought I would show you today for my Quick Tip Thursday is how to make a big button like this. Now, I think I showed you previously the inside of my Huswif, Huswif roll. If you recall, they used to make really small ones that were given to soldiers, usually by their wives. I've heard in the Civil War, World War II, and that is so they could mend their uniforms. It had probably a needle, a thread, few buttons, things like that. But I wanted to make a large one so that I can carry it to and from my daughter's home in northern Arizona. And so I think the last time I showed it, like I said, I only had the inside done. And I'm just going to show you real quick. Again, there's a pocket for a ruler and a template, couple of pins, my pin cushion here, a magnet if I drop my needle there. And then I have a place for a little bit wider lace and a button card. They just slide in there. Then this is held closed with Velcro, and that is where I'm keeping my needles. Then scissors go here, and this button keeps my scissors from falling out. And then I have just a small little envelope pocket here with a tape measure. That got kind of twisted there. And then it closes just with this string and this button. What I did for the stitching for the outside is I just use a very kind of a messy blanket stitch. I've got a large zippered pouch here and a tuck spot behind it, so fabric could go there. I have two pockets here for lace. Looks like, I bet there was a pin there. I don't feel it. But that helped that lace there. So I've got two of these little things with just ivory lace. And then as it folds up, then I have a pocket here. And then here is the box that I covered. It had candy in it, and I had bought it in Australia. A lot of people use pliers to help pull their needles through thick fabrics and stuff, and I just have just a little hemostats. I've got my Fisker paper cutters, some more embroidery, scissors, tools for making Suffolk puffs, and I'm going to use those today and show you just a couple of threads, little rubbery thing to again help pull needles through my thimble, and so they just kind of tuck in there. And then I don't think I have anything in this pocket, but it's just a envelope pocket that the fabric was given to me by Pam at Pandora's Junk Journals, and I made this button using air dry compound. And then, so now I'm going to show you the other side. It's very, very plain because I did not want to add a lot of bulk to the outside because the things inside it were all already going to cause quite a bit of bulk. The only thing, like I said, that I added was this large, there's that pin I was looking for, was this large button to hold everything closed. So let me just pull this around, and I've got to put this here because I don't want to stick myself and I don't want to lose it. So I'm very pleased with this project. It has absolutely everything I would need to just quickly grab it, throw whatever threads I was using. I also have a needle threader there. I can just throw it real quick into my car and head off sewing. So it wraps around this way a couple of times. I guess it's actually only the one time. So it goes around like that and then through there, and then I just tucked it back here. So anyway, in today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this Suffolk puff. And it's a Suffolk puff, but a button. I was looking for a big button to go on this project, and I didn't have any big enough, and I didn't want to go to the store looking for one. So I'm going to show you how I made this one. So this is the things you're going to need. Is I used to struggle with making yo-yos or Suffolk puffs, and this is a kit that I ordered from Amazon. I will link it in the description box. I learned about these from Create and Craft with Christine. But they make making yo-yos or Suffolk puffs so easy. I think I used this real big one for the red one, but I think I'm going to use this one for this next one. So you're going to need that. For stability and strength, I have some cardstock here, and I just did it twice. You could, if you need to and don't have a die cutting machine or circular die cuts like this, you could just cut them out by hand, but you just lay it there. And I think I did double strength. So you just turn this. This is a Stampin' Up! Little die cutting machine. I used to sell Stampin' Up! Products, but I don't anymore. But I think this is still available, but you see how that just cuts it out perfectly. And I just use some Plano, kind of a thicker cardstock, probably 110 pound. Let me just put that off to the side. And I glued 2 of them together. And I'll go ahead and do that so they'll have a chance to dry. And that just gives that strength. And then the fabric I'm going to use this time is this pretty blue. My room at my daughter's house up in her Flagstaff home is this kind of a pretty blue color. So I thought this would be pretty. I'm going to make some kind of a box or something to have up there in the room just as a decoration. Let me put this away so I don't lose that. And I'm going to go ahead and put my circular die away too. So it's out of the way. And so what you need is this little gizmo. It is 2 pieces. What I learned is if you look real close, the manufacturer is Clover in Japan. And it says Clover here, and it says Clover here too. When you line those 2 up together, then they snap in place. And let me show you. So let me just grab a little bit of fabric here. And you want it to be big enough to go around the whole thing. So I'm just going to do a rough cut first. And then after I snap it in place, I'll cut it a little bit better. Okay. So what you're going to do is lay your fabric in wrong side up. And let me find that little clover. Okay, there it is down here. So I'm going to lay my fabric in there, and then my clover is here. And hopefully, if you do that, see, I heard it snap in place. Yeah. So then it will snap in place. I want to make sure it's snapped good. Yeah, there it is. And then I'm going to go around with my scissors and trim off just a little bit, just to take away a little bit of that bulk. I tell you, the Suffolk puffs, when you use this little tool, they come out perfect. And before, when I would do them, they would be wonky and just not that neat. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. And then you just need a needle and thread. I'm going to use this thread here. I think it goes pretty good. And on the red one, I made sure that the design was kind of centered. This one, because the design is a little bit more, you know, everywhere, it's not that important. So I just want to make sure I have more than enough. I think I'm going to use just 3 strands. Let me just pull these apart. Did I get 3 or did I get 4? Yeah, there we go. I need 1 more over here. There we go. I think that's 3 there. Did I get 3? You know what? After all of that, I only got 2. So I'm going to use the 4. I'm not going to hassle with it. So just thread your needle. And then I'm going to do a quilter's knot. And let me show you how to do that. So you bring your needle that way. You lay your thread over the top of it. Go around a couple of times, then push it to the end and pull it all the way through, and you'll have a nice knot there. Okay, I'm just going to trim that off just a tiny bit. And then it's just a matter of folding this under. You're going to want to start it. Got to find the right hole. It does take it a little bit that first time. There you go. Okay, so you want to fold your fabric in, and you just sew around it. So you see these little holes right there, that little groove, you're going to just go back in through there and pull it. Then you just go to the next one. Over. Make sure your fabric is pulled inward so that when you bring your needle up, it catches it. Okay? You might want to even just go real close there. So anyway, I'm just going to go around and do that. So I have a story to tell you guys, and it is a scary story. It scared me so much, I started crying. Well, I take my son to work, and I always take Fiona with me, and I think I told you, and I'm going to insert a little video here of the two of them playing just to kind of lighten the mood. She's fine, you guys. She is fine, but there was a scare. Kids just playing, having fun. So I always take Fiona with me, and I took Finn with me. And they were in the back seat, and I had already dropped my son off. And I did not realize that, like with my car, there is a lever to lock the windows so that, you know, kids don't play with the windows going up and down and what have you. Well, that was not locked, and I had music on, and I was on a busy road, but I was stopped to be able to merge on the traffic. And one of the dogs had pressed the button to roll down the windows. And when I was stopped, my sweet little Miss Fiona jumped out of the window. Now, first of all, I didn't know the window had come down because I had music, and you know, usually you can hear them. And I didn't know or hear that she had jumped out. So I'm sitting waiting to merge onto traffic, and it was a busy road. And this woman in front of me, she starts waving, you know, she's got her window down and she's waving at me from her car. And I thought she was signaling for me to, come on into traffic. She was letting me come on. And then I realized she's yelling at me. And so I rolled down my window and she yells, "Your dog jumped out of the car." So I put the car in park and I opened up my door, and there is little Miss Fiona running around in the street where she could have gotten hit by a car. And I'm calling for her. She ran out into the street toward that lady. It almost makes me want to cry right now thinking about it. That lady picked her up and carried her to my car and put her in the back seat. I'm telling you, that could have been such a disaster. And like I said, I did not even realize that the window had gone down. So Heavenly Father was watching out for Miss Fiona and I, and she sent that sweet lady to help Miss Fiona back into the car. So anyway, she's fine. She did not hurt herself as she jumped out of the car. And of course, then I did lock that little lock so the window can't go down. But that little stinker, oh, okay. So now I'm back to where I started. And I'm going to come still one more back in and out where I had started. Then all you have to do is pop this out. Bring out the plastic part. And your Suffolk puff is perfectly stitched. Now, the next thing I did is I laid this inside of it. I didn't glue it, although, hey, let's just take a little bit of fabric glue because that won't leak through. Just going to put just a tiny little bit of fabric glue and stick that in the center so it doesn't move as I'm bringing this around. And so all you do is then pull your thread and your Suffolk puff will form. Just kind of continue to guide it. There you go. There you go. And then what I also did is I just kind of brought this under, pulled it a little bit more, and guided this under so it would be a really nice and neat Suffolk puff. But of course, I guess it doesn't matter if you are going to glue it downward like that. Isn't that pretty? Look at that. Oh. The other thing you could do is if you wanted this side to show, what you could do is lay some more fabric over that little area there, and then it would cover that. But look at how pretty that is. I'm kind of struggling with that a little bit there. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it needs to be a little bit tighter. Maybe this disc is a little bit too big. But when you lay it down there, it doesn't quite matter. So I'm going to go ahead and tie this off. And in that other one, I just left that fabric, the paper disc in there. This one is not the prettiest. Maybe I needed to make this cardboard thing smaller so that this tied around and pulled tighter. I'm such a perfectionist that this is bugging me that it's not coming around like I want it to underneath there. So I'm going to struggle with it for a little bit. But anyway, I'm gonna stop here because I will just sew this one down. Just pull it tight and let her go and tie it off. Anyway, you guys, so that is how you can make a button. And then the only thing I did is see, that is bugging me. Why isn't that? I didn't pull that tight enough. Oh, I'm going to do another one. So if any of you know me, you know what a perfectionist I can be. What was the problem here is this cardboard is a little bit too big for that Suffolk puff. So what I did is I did another one and I cut the Suffolk puff, or excuse me, the cardboard smaller than the previous one. And I think I had used before, this die, and instead I used this die. But anyway, I think I told you that the other thing you could do, and I'm glad I made another one, is I took a piece of fabric, I used the die, I ran it through the machine and cut out a piece of the fabric. And so then now I'm going to lay that in here. And then when I go to pull this up and around this Suffolk puff, you're not going to see that cardboard. You're only going to see fabric. So anyway, I love how this turned out. This makes for a pretty button. What you could do is sew the button. I'm going to pull this over a little bit. Again, I'm such a perfectionist. It can drive you crazy, but I want it to be even on all sides. And I think that's pretty good. You can sew it down to where this lays right on the fabric. I'm going to just tie this off so it's tight. Or you can sew it to where this is down. And the reason why this side, let me just tie this off and I'll finish my sentence. The reason why the downward one would be good for a button is because then, like this one, you can wrap it around. It sits up. Let's go around here. My camera's kind of far down, but anyway, So this one sits upwards, so it's easy to bring your fabric around it, okay? If it was flat like this, it would be a little bit more difficult for this to slide underneath here. But this would make a pretty one. You could put a button in there and then have your Suffolk puff sitting up like that. But anyway, basically, that's how you sew and make a big enough Suffolk puff to tie off a project. So anyway, you guys, thanks so much for joining me today at this Quick Tip Thursday, and I'll see you guys next Thursday. Thanks, and bye-bye.